I'm just going to warn you that we're going to show you something that might not be very pretty. So yesterday, a big elephant bull had a fight with a young elephant, and unfortunately for the young elephant, the big elephant managed to put its tusk through its side, and the elephant has died. So we've got the elephant over here, and it's just lying there. There's some vultures around. It happened this morning. The lions and the hyenas haven't found this elephant yet, and you can see there is the elephant. So let's just come away from it quickly. And so we're going to sit here for a little bit because there are lots of really nice birds like the vultures that come to this sighting. And I'm just going to move the car forward a little bit so you can see some of the vultures. Now, vultures are very, very important. But while we get into a spot where we can see vultures nicely, we're going to send you across to the third member of our team taking you on your safari, Taylor. Well, they're not at the moment. They're waiting for the other animals to come and open it up. Now, those are white-backed vultures. Now, vultures are very, very important in the African bush. They are the garbage men of the African bush. So what they do is they clean up all the rubbish, all the meat and stuff that's left over so it doesn't get rotten, so it stops the spread of sickness and disease. Now, of course, when you've got meat sitting out in the open, you're going to get lots of insects as well. And Ryder is wondering, do we get flies? Well, the elephant carcass is still quite fresh, so there's not too many flies on it yet. But there are going to be lots and lots of flies by tomorrow. And the flies will also help break down the carcass. They will lay their eggs inside the carcass. And the baby flies that are called maggots will actually eat the meat. What are you seeing, Dave? Oh, he's gone. There was a vulture flying past. It is incredible how nature's systems work together, and in less than 10 days there'll be nothing left of 5,000 kilograms of elephant. If you look carefully at those vultures, you'll see they've got very strong, powerful beaks. And Abigail was asking, how do they eat? Well, they will rip and tear pieces of meat with those very strong beaks, those sharp beaks, and then they will swallow the meat. At the moment, the vultures are just doing a bit of cleaning. They're just making sure their feathers are all in the right place. Now, that's very important for vultures because they spend a lot of their time flying, so it is important for them to keep their feathers nice and clean and in the right place. Elijah, you are so clever and you are very right. Elijah, vultures are indeed called scavengers. Now, other types of animals that scavenge are hyenas, jackals, even lions and leopards will scavenge. So most animals out in the bush are what we call opportunists. So if there is an opportunity for an easy meal, they will take it. Hello, Mackenzie. Vultures can travel big distances, but they do have a home, and that's what Mackenzie was asking. And they will have a nest in the top of normally a knobthorn tree, which is a thorny tree. And the reason they like to nest in the tops of thorny trees, it's so their babies can be protected, because it's harder for other animals like snakes to climb to the tops of the very thorny trees. we're going to sit here for a little bit longer. I'm hoping the vultures are going to come down and start sitting on the elephant while we wait. Let's go across to Tristan, who's got elephants who are alive. Okay, well, the vultures are still up in the tree, so we're waiting quite patiently. You can have a look. What I'm trying to see, if you can see, there's white-backed vultures. There were some Cape vultures as well, but I can't see them at the moment. There's probably a good 70 or 80 vultures around here at the moment, but by tomorrow there could easily be 100 or so, 200 even. Oof, Nathan's asking the tough questions. Nathan, it's nearly impossible to tell the difference between male and female vultures. They are very, very similar looking. So the females are slightly bigger, but from this type of distance, it's near impossible to tell the difference between male and female of most of the vulture species. Now, at the moment, I think we only have Cape vultures and white-backed vultures around here. And that ties into what Owen's asking. Will the vultures share with the other vultures? So the Cape vulture is the biggest vulture that is here at the moment, and they will bully and chase the other vultures. But the king of the vultures is the lappet-faced vulture. And there are none of them here yet, but they might arrive. And they are the biggest and strongest vulture, and I'll show you a picture of what they look like, and they'll chase the other vultures away. So actually there's probably a few hooded vultures around as well that are the smallest of the vultures, so it could be very interesting to see what happens amongst the vultures. So, oh, here we go. Are they going to come in? There's some just taken off. I'm hoping that they were going to come land at the elephant. That's what we've been sitting, waiting very quietly for. Okay, well, we're going to wait for a little bit longer here with these vultures, and maybe I'll leave and come back a little bit later, give the vultures a chance to get more comfortable. While we do that, let's go across to Taylor, who's with a very shiny bird. Well, we're going to head back to the elephant in a little while. I'm just waiting for let the vultures settle. There's been quite a lot of cars at the beginning of drive who wanted to go have a look at it. Now, I'm sure there's lots of people wondering, was that animal euthanized or did it die on its own? It died on its own. We found it just after breakfast this morning, and it died on its own. It looks like the big musk bull, who we suspect did a lot of that damage, came back and finished the job, so to speak. It's difficult to see because a lot of the wounds are on the left side of the body, and of course it's lying that side. And as strong as I am, I'm definitely not strong enough to lift up an elephant to have a look. So while we were with the kiddies, we didn't want to go too close to the carcass. It can be a little bit gruesome for 5-6-year-olds if they're not used to it. Yeah, so I think maybe before the vultures settle, let's go back and have a quick look, and I'll try see if we can get in a position to show you the size of that actual tusk wound. It was quite incredible. I mean, it was like that, so a very big tusk. And there's only one elephant around who's sporting toofies like that. And that's that big musk bull that was on, that we had a little bit of a chat to on drive yesterday morning. There's actually, now we've seen there's a second musk bull around. We could actually potentially get some fighting between the bulls, which could be quite interesting. And again, that's a very dangerous situation. We've got to be very careful how we position. He was heading up towards... So Welcome back, everyone. I'm just going to give you a warning again that this is not for sensitive viewers. So if you are, we are going to just do a few little close-ups so I can explain what happened. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move probably 50, 60 meters away, and we're going to sit there and we're going to wait for the vultures to come down. So there we go. Here is the poor unfortunate Ellie. You can see some of the stomach has been opened. That's the softest part of an elephant's skin, and the only part the vultures have managed to open so far. So if we go right in there, Dave, and try lighten it a bit if you can. It might be quite difficult, but yeah, it's very difficult. You see where the flies are? That's where the tusk wound, the hole is, the major hole that caused that damage that we saw yesterday. Now the vultures have eaten the bits of the stomach that were hanging out, so that's where it is. And as I said, it's probably about 30, 40 centimeters across. So very, very unfortunate for the Ellie, and it's just very, very strange. Sometimes it does happen with those big musk bulls. They terrorize younger bulls around. Okay, so as I said, we're not going to hang around too close for too long. I'm just going to quickly show you the front of the Ellie. Now, as you'll notice that the tusks are still there. The Sabi Sands will take those tusks at some point. Hi, Francis, in Israel. Francis is asking about the tusks. Is anyone guarding this carcass till the tusks are taken out? No, it's quite safe where it is at the moment. We're quite deep within the bush, and it is very unlikely that anyone would come try to steal the tusks. It's not easy to take an elephant tusk out. It actually requires quite a lot of skill, and you've got to cut right into the bone because there's a lot of that tusk that is right in the skull. So you can see the vulture scat or dung all over it already, and you can see how the eye has already been eaten by the vultures. So as I was saying, this elephant was not euthanized. It died from its injuries, and I think it picked up a few more injuries yesterday or last night. David's asking how long until the predators find the elephant. I'm surprised there isn't a predator yet with all the vultures that have been dropping, but it's been a relatively cool day, so there haven't been that many vultures up and about. So I think definitely this evening. I wonder if old Shidulu, she was heading in an easterly direction from there. I wonder if Shidulu arrives here. That would be a scene. I actually thought Hassana, if Hassana had seen these vultures during the day, I think Hassana would have been here. So I wonder where he is that he didn't spot all the vultures dropping down. So we're just going to play the patience game now. We're going to sit here, this distance from the elephant, and wait for the vultures to come back down and just sit quietly. And you never know, lions might arrive, leopard might arrive, hyena might arrive. I've seen all sorts of strange things on elephant carcasses, such as honey badgers feeding on elephant carcasses, genets. So you never know what might arrive at such a rich resource as a dead elephant. And basically, for a lot of the scavengers and other predators, if they find this early enough, it's like winning the jackpot. A huge amount of meat for no effort. But of course, the more well-known the carcass becomes, the bigger competition happens around it. So who knows, we might get some absolutely astounding stuff around this elephant carcass over the next 5 or 6 days. Lions, hyenas, leopards, who knows? It's going to be very interesting to watch. It's also a really good time because we're going to be able to see how long it takes an elephant carcass to pretty much disappear. So how long do you take? I think, why don't we have some bets going here? There we go. Bree, the vultures aren't going to be able to finish the carcass, which is what Bree was answering, because until some of the other bigger predators arrive, they're not going to be able to actually open up some of the areas of the thick skin. They're going to need lions and hyenas to do that. Now, let's let's have a little bet. How long do we think it's going to take for this carcass to just be bones? I say 5 days. I say 5 days. What do you say? Hashtag Safari Live. How long do you think it's going to be for this carcass to turn into just bones, picked clean by the scavengers and predators? There we go. Isn't that? It is such a sad scene, but that elephant will provide a lot of food for a lot of different animals, all the way from the insects, all the flies, the maggots, the carrion beetles, the vultures. I'm hoping lion, hyena, and leopard as well. Now, you would have seen the Ellies on the dam cam a little bit earlier, including that big musk bull. Equalizer is wondering about the distance between this Ellie and the dam cam. It's quite far. We're right, we're almost, we're just to the west of Twin Dams itself. Let me actually show you on the map. Okay. So, let me get a piece of grass. Yep. So the dam cam is there, and we are here. So quite a long way, couple of kilometers. That's actually, Rebecca noticed something here. There is a road called Elephant Carcass from another dead elephant quite a while ago, before our time, Elephant Carcass Road. But yeah, we're to the south of Elephant Carcass Road and just to the west of Twin Dams down there. Well, if a lot of you were wondering, would other elephants come round to inspect the carcass? And indeed they are. So it looks like 2 young bulls. So I'm just keeping quiet. I'm trying to listen to if there's some grumbling. So they're not actually touching the carcass, and they are looking a little bit nervous. They are very, very young bulls, sort of teenagers. Now, there's a lot of different theories about elephants. I think they might just move past this injured elephant, but we're going to have to wait to see what happens. We are going to do a quick Facebook live, so just everyone, I might keep quiet for a little bit. Good afternoon and welcome to the Sabi Sands in South Africa. My name is Brent Smith. I've got my good friend David on camera, and we are seeing something you don't get to see very often, and that is elephants inspecting the carcass of another elephant. That elephant that's dead was killed by a really big elephant bull this morning in a fight, and he's died from the injuries that happened. So a tusk went under his armpit and into his vital organs, and that's what's the main injury that killed this young elephant bull, who's probably around 25, 26. Now we've just had 2 sort of teenage elephants, and they've arrived to come inspect the carcass. Now, if you have any questions, please pop them on the feed below. I'd love to hear from you. So out of the 2, one elephant is definitely showing a lot more interest, but there we go. So the one with the short tail is showing quite a bit more interest in the carcass. Now, there's lots of different theories about why elephants will visit carcasses of different elephants. A lot of people think it could be mourning and stuff like that. I personally, from my witnessing, I don't think it's mourning at all. I think it's more curiosity. And you can see that they haven't been here very long. They've been here less than 5 minutes, and they're already moving off and starting to feed on the grasses as they go. Now, if there had been hyenas or lions here, the elephant's behavior would have been very different, and they would have chased the predators off the carcass. Now, hello, Nancy. Nancy's wondering, how often are elephants killed by other elephants? And not that often, Nancy. It's quite rare. So this is a very, very special thing to see. It's not something we see very often. And you can see he died this morning probably around 8 o'clock. We saw him yesterday carrying that wound. And a massive carcass like this will produce a huge amount of food for vultures, for elephants, for lions, for hyenas. And at the moment, there are a lot of vultures around, but the skin of that elephant is so thick that the vultures are unable to open up the carcass. So they're waiting for the lions and hyenas to arrive to open up the carcass. Now, it's a young elephant bull, probably, I'd say, between 25 and 30 years old, that was killed by a much bigger bull, probably around 40 years old. The big bull was in must. Must is a heightened hormonal stage that African bull elephants have when they are wanting to mate. So they've got lots of testosterone, and they can be quite unpredictable and aggressive when they are in that state. So there's some vultures in the tree, and we're going to sit here patiently. I'm hoping the vultures will come down and start feeding on the carcass, or you never know, a hyena or a lion or even a leopard might see the vultures and come inspect this carcass and maybe even start feeding on it. Now, on the carcass itself, we saw lots of little white spots. Julius was asking about those white spots on the elephant carcass. What are they from? That's vulture dung. So the vultures defecated on the carcass. Oh, there's an elephant coming back towards the carcass, Dave. So one of the elephants has moved off, and now there's a second ellie moving back towards. It's the same one with a short tail. Noriko is asking about the smell. Does the carcass smell? Not too badly yet, Noriko. And so it's quite a fresh carcass. It hasn't been that hot today. It smells like meat and undigested grass, so probably a bit like a butchery or an abattoir. But no, it doesn't smell very bad yet. So we've parked quite a distance away because we don't want to disturb what's going on. We want the vultures to come down, and you can see this elephant. As I said, look, to me it's more like curiosity. And you can see, there we go, he's sniffing the skull now. There is actually a wound in that area where the elephant is sniffing that we can't see. So there is actually a wound behind the ear there that the elephant is smelling. James is asking about the tusks. James, the tusks will be removed by the park rangers and put into a safe. Now, there's actually quite a lot of blood on his tusks, and that right tusk is almost loose in the socket. So from the fight with the other bull, who was a lot bigger than him and a lot stronger. There's more elephants coming slowly from behind us. I'll let you know when they get closer, Dave. Michelle, you're spot on. It is a young elephant bull, another male inspecting the dead one, who is also an elephant bull. So young elephant bulls of that age, the sort of teenagers, will often hang out in little bachelor groups because until they're about 30, they're actually unable to challenge for breeding rights. The bigger bulls will bully them and chase them, but very seldom actually kill them. So this is a very unusual situation. Now we've got another little teenager coming into our left, who I actually know this elephant quite well. I've seen this elephant quite a few times over the years, this little boy here. So there's 3 little boys, all about the same age, that hang out together, and those are the ones who are inspecting this carcass at the moment. You can see the trunk's up, you can smell the carcass, and he's just going down. As I say, I think it's more curiosity than mourning. No, I've seen some very strange things around elephant carcasses with elephants. I've even seen an elephant attack a dead elephant that's already been killed. So the elephant that was sniffing the carcass had a bit of moisture around its trunk. Nancy, it's just I suppose the mucous membranes from its nose that's showing the moisture in its trunk. So now we've got the 3 little boys around the carcass. It's going to be interesting to see how long they stay, or they're going to move off. Lots of sniffing. Mary's asking, could they be related? It's a possibility, Mary. It's very difficult to tell, but probably not. But it is a possibility that they could be related. Very, very special scenes. Not something you get to see very often. I've only ever seen it a handful of times in my life, and I've been living in the African bush since I was 4 years old. So it's the first time I've seen it in this part of Africa. I've seen it quite a few times in northern Botswana. The one with the short tail, that's his trunk there, seems to be far more interested in the carcass than the other 2. Those 2 look like they're having a little conversation. Hi, Lol Pradan would like a recap of what happened. So yesterday afternoon on safari, we found that elephant. He had a gaping wound under his left armpit where a big elephant bull had stabbed him with his tusk. He wasn't very well. We tried to find him again this morning on safari, but we had no luck. And then we found him after the safari this morning, and he had already died from those injuries. It looked like that big elephant bull caught up with him again and carried on beating him. So fortunately or unfortunately, it was a relatively quick death. So it's very sad to see this, but it is nature at its most raw and its most true. So this is a natural death. That elephant was killed by another elephant. We're going to sit here for a little bit longer, see what else transpires. If you want to see how the story unfolds, you can join us on YouTube. Just type in Safari Live. But for now, from David and myself, hopefully we'll see you on YouTube in a little while. Okay, so it is a very interesting scene. I mean, the one Eddie is already munching off to the right, and that elephant showed very little interest in the carcass, but the one with the stumpy tail has shown the most interest in the carcass. There you go, it's the same one there, sniffing again. Oh, but it sounds like Our spotted cat sightings are hotting up. Let's go across to Taylor. It is very, very fascinating now. All three young bulls have congregated around the carcass. You can see the one's picking up the elephant's ear. Now there's a tusk wound behind that ear from the fight. You can see smelling over the eye, and that vultures have already removed the eye, and it looks like there's a breeding herd also coming in from behind. I'm not sure if they're going to come here, but there are more elephants off behind there. And you can just, if you go off to the right a little bit, that termite mound is there. See, there's a whole bunch more elephants there. This is just absolutely fascinating. That's one of the reasons that Dave and I have decided we're going to just sit here for the whole drive to see what happens. And when we were expecting to get incredible vultures and hyenas, but we weren't really expecting something as special and as rare as this. Now, the very interesting thing is it's been completely silent. I haven't heard any low rumbles. Of course, elephants can communicate in frequencies much lower than the human ear can hear, but I haven't heard any rumbles whatsoever. Oh, there's a big bull there. I'm just going to get my binoculars. I just want to see if it's the same big bull who actually caused this injury. Now, just remember, it's probably quite difficult to watch for some of you, and it is a difficult sighting. It's never nice to see an elephant die. Now, of course, as soon as I get my binoculars out to try and look at the big elephant bull, the other one is blocking. You might hear directly behind us a greater honey guide has figured out that we're here and is trying to lure us. Where's he gone? He sounds very close. He's trying to lure us away from the elephant to go find the honey. But I'm afraid, honey guide, we're going to stick with the ellies now. That is a big bull down there, but I don't think it's the same. It's not. It's not the big musk bull who's been terrorizing all the elephants on Djuma. Now, look at that. This is an incredibly interesting sighting. I wonder what's going through their minds. Now, these little eddies came up with their trunks up smelling. So Mauricia was asking, did they pick up the scent or did they find it randomly? I think they picked up the scent, Mauricia. And they came in from the area that the wind was blowing. I'm just keeping quiet to try to see if I can hear any communications, any grumbles from those eddies there. Now, I'm keeping my distance from the sighting because in these situations, you never quite know what's going to happen. So it's always better to have a little bit of distance and just watch from afar. If we're a bit closer, you don't know how the other eddies are going to react. There we go. What are they up to now? I see one's picking up a stick. Just put it down again now. So I can hear a big sort of sniffs from that ellie who's there now. What's he doing with his foot, Dave? Can you see? He's kicking the trunk. Oh, a little bit earlier, one was actually standing on the tusk and put its foot right up on the tusk. Now, I'm fascinated to see if the rest of those ellies in the distance are going to come here. Now, as I say, I was wondering the exact same thing as Lara Moore and MJ, which is, will that breeding herd at the back come and visit the carcass, or will just these 3 young teenagers? And there we go. See, he's putting his foot up on the elephant's skull again. They were doing that a little bit earlier as well. And sniffing around the mouth. I think it'd be quite fascinating if that big bull comes here. And it's not the bull that is the culprit. We're pretty sure, well, we know pretty sure which bull it was. It was that one that was on the dam cam at the start of drive. As I said, if there were lions or hyenas on this carcass, or even the vultures, the elephants would often chase off the scavengers and predators, and that's what Michelle was asking. Is it instinct, even though it's dead? I think yes, Michelle. I think it is instinct to try push predators away. Even if they were on a buffalo carcass, they would do the same thing. They would chase the predators away. Now, the wind's sort of swirling around a bit, and it doesn't look like those eddies in the distance are actually coming here. So it just looks like the teenagers. The eddies in the distance seem to be carrying on with their own affairs, but there is another one there, a little bit closer. Another couple, actually. But they don't, or maybe they're going to come. There's another one there. So there's a breeding herd, females with young as well, not too far off behind. But they haven't come towards the carcass. And I mean, we've been here, and close to here, the whole afternoon. There we go. You can see that he's almost using that tusk to scratch his foot. I mean, this is stuff you just don't see. But it sounds like Shidulu is up on the move. But don't worry, Dave and I are not going to move a muscle. We're going to see what happens here at this elephant carcass. Well, they're not too far away from the carcass, but they are just feeding. The big herd has moved off. The young boys are still within the vicinity, but they seem to have lost interest in the carcass itself. And I said, we're going to sit here for the afternoon just to see what might happen next. Now, the ellies being around is keeping the vultures away and up in the trees. And even if there was a leopard or hyena, while those elephants are close by, they will probably keep their distance. So there's a lot of vultures in all the trees all around. Keeping their distance. Now, it looks like those young bulls are slowly moving off. There's only 2 of them. The third one is already gone. Now, the Sabi Sands are coming to collect the tusks at some point, and Cape Turtle Dove is asking whether they will send in researchers to have a look at this carcass. Probably not. I mean, it is uncommon, but it's not rare. and it is a natural death, and the cause of death is quite obvious, the tusk wound from another elephant. So no, I don't think they're going to send any researchers in to do any research on this carcass. Oh, it sounds like Shadulu might be coming down the tree. Let's go have a look. So 2 bulls are back on the carcass. The one was actually climbing onto the carcass, and then the second one pushed it off. It almost looked like they were playing for a second. I don't think they were, though. So this behavior is just so fascinating. So they don't look like they're upset at all. And so they don't look angry. They're not showing signs of stress or anything like that. So it's just very interesting. And as I say, lots of people have different theories. No, to me, the behavior looks more like curiosity than mourning as such. So, I mean, they were sort of roughhousing on top of the carcass a little bit earlier. As I said, there's lots of different theories, and I don't think anyone knows exactly what's going on in these situations. We can always speculate. I mean, they were completely not interested in the carcass a few minutes ago. They were just sort of feeding close by. And then, again, now the carcass is incredibly interesting to them again. And they seem to be smelling around the wounds, and as I said, there's a wound behind the ear there. It seems to be attracting quite a bit of attention. Bev is asking about the injury behind the ear. Is it a tusk wound? It looks to be a tusk wound, Bev. So yes, it does look to be a tusk wound, but it's not a very deep injury. It's quite a shallow scrape. I mean, the worst injury was by far the one under the armpit. And I think even though the other Ellie might have pushed him around a bit, I think that was definitely the wound that led him to die. He probably was bleeding internally a lot. And from inspecting closer to the carcass, and his right tusk is buried deep in the sand, I think he just keeled over. Oh, look, here we go. The elephant's climbing up onto the carcass again. Look at that. As I say, it's just such interesting behavior. And what is going on? Anyway, it sounds like a Shadulu is spotted something and is about to be on the move. Now, this really strange behavior is continuing. So it almost looks like these young bulls are now trying to display dominance over the carcass. So they're climbing on it, they're pushing it around a bit, and in some cases their penises are coming out. So it looks like they're almost trying to play the dominance game with the dead Ellie. So very, very unusual behavior. And whether they knew this elephant or not, it's near impossible to tell. But it is incredibly interesting, nonetheless, and not something you see every day. And they are keeping the vultures at bay. You can see he's actually pushing quite hard with his tusks now into the back of that ellie. As I said, they've been clambering all over the carcass. It's just amazing. They seem to be getting more and more boisterous with the carcass the longer they remain, and becoming more and more rough. They were very, very gentle in the beginning. You can see how when he look how he's putting that tusk in. He's putting that tusk in, or was putting that tusk in quite hard. And then also having sort of little play wrestles with each other's from time to time. This is incredibly interesting behavior. There we go. Back there, pushing the tusks in, climbing on. Well, just a quick update from the Game Drive radio. The evokers are back, not too far from the northern boundary, hunting buffalo. So probably about 2 or 3 kilometers from Sydney's dam. Not even that, maybe 1.5 kilometers from Sydney's dam. They're chasing buffalo. So just a quick update there. And let's get back to the ellies. Oh, sniffing, sniffing, sniffing. There we go, climbing up again. Right onto the carcass. Isn't this amazing? Now, when the one does, the other one has been coming and then pushing it off or climbing on itself. Tanya, one of those impossible questions. Do I think these ellies have seen another dead elephant before? It's impossible to know, Tanya. I think, I mean, what are they, 16, 17 years old, so probably. And see, they're being more playful than anything else at the moment. As they went off, started feeding, and all of a sudden, sort of like interest was perked again. Now, those evoker males are a long, long way away from here, so they probably won't smell this carcass. What they might see is vultures dropping tomorrow, depending on where they end their buffalo hunt. And of course, if they catch the buffalo, however, then they'll probably not be too fussed with the vultures dropping down here. And the fact that this is where the Birminghams walked through yesterday and this morning means that it's unlikely that they will come dashing down here too quickly. See, there we go. Now they're sort of play wrestling a bit. Oh, that's interesting. Can you hear some go-away bird alarming down towards Twin Dams? We're going to just continue to sit here and see how this plays out. In the meantime, let's hope Shidulu has lost her evil eye for the Batman. Well, it's still the same eddies that have been here the whole afternoon. And there we go. You can see that they're continuing on with that dominance display, mounting the carcass and then wrestling with each other. They actually had a little bit of a tussle while one was actually on the carcass itself. So this is incredibly interesting behavior. And I don't think we will ever truly know exactly what's going on here. But I suppose all we can do is speculate at the moment. So as I say, I don't think they're mourning. I think they're just, there was a bit of curiosity, and then they can obviously smell that it's a big elephant, and then almost a bit of like, well, let me see if I can get a bit of dominance here, get a bit of a one-up, but not in a serious way. I don't know, it's just really strange and interesting behavior to watch. Now, the elephant that showed the most interest initially was the one with the stumpy tail, and he's long gone. He moved off with the herd, and it's just these two again now. One that arrived with the stumpy tail, who showed very little interest in the beginning, and then that young teenager who I've seen quite a lot of in the last couple of weeks since I've been back, and he's sort of joined in the party, so to speak. Now, a lot of people, and Pee-wee included, are asking, do you think they were trying to wake it up and that's why they were being rough? I don't. So, I mean, they're playing. You can see what I mean. So they're still playing, and they're not showing any signs of distress or anger or anything like that. So no, I don't think they're being rough to try to wake it up. Now, also, quite a few of you were wondering why nothing was done in terms of trying to dart the animal and see if it could have been helped and see if you could have fixed it. Unfortunately, with a wound like that, there's zero chance of recovery almost. You'd have to put an elephant in an ICU ward and keep it sedated. And also the type of drugs you need to keep an elephant down. Long-term use of M99 would also probably cause liver and heart failure in the elephant. But the fact that the stomach was completely ripped open, I mean, there was almost zero chance of survival for this poor Ellie after that happened. And again, it's one of those difficult ones. That the elephant population in South Africa is very healthy. It's actually growing, and it's growing to the point where it's actually becoming a problem. And the elephants are running out of space. Most of the reserves that can handle large elephant populations are chock-a-block with ellies. And this is a natural mortality, and in a healthy population like we have, one shouldn't be trying to fix natural mortalities. I know some of you are going to disagree with me, but that's the truth of it. And it's a natural mortality in a healthy ecosystem in a wild population. Who are we to play gardeners in Eden and start fiddling? And this isn't an overpopulation problem. This isn't anything like that. This is just daily elephant lives. Well, there we go. That young bull's mounting again, but it sounds like Shidulu might have spotted a potential dinner. You can see that these two bulls are still here, and they're sort of almost taking turns at the moment when it comes to climbing on top of that dead ellie. It's really, really fascinating behavior. I've never seen this before. I've seen bigger elephant bulls attack dead corpses and tusk them and stuff like that, but I haven't seen this sort of dominance display go on and on like the little boys are doing at the moment. And it's going to be, I wonder how long they're going to stay here. So, I mean, we're going to sit here until the end of drive, and I'll definitely be back here first thing tomorrow morning. Slaney is asking if is it possible that the elephant who's dead was exuding pheromones during the fight, which are confusing the young ones now. I don't think so, no. And that was, the fight would have been yesterday, the first fight. I suppose another fight yesterday evening or early hours of this morning. I don't think so, no. I don't think that's possible. Now, as I say, there's a lot of different theories on what elephants do with corpses, mourning, etc. Now, I have seen young elephants play like this with a hippo corpse that was killed by lions, and pick up bones of buffalo, giraffe, and other elephants. So I think it's more curiosity. That's my personal theory. As I said, quite a few will probably disagree with me, but I've been watching elephants in the wild my whole life, and if it was true mourning, I don't know how much of this other behavior that we see around these corpses would be going on. I mean, there's no sign of distress in them, there's no sign of anger, so they're just carrying on. It's sort of not a toy, but something interesting and a bit unusual that they're sort of having a bit of fun around. And the interesting fact, quickly across to Shidulu. We're playing the patience game, and their little boys are still around, but they have moved off a little bit to the left. There we go, you can just see them through there. Now, while these guys are around, it's going to be very unlikely that any of the predators are going to come through. I was really hoping by now we might have a leopard or a lion or a hyena somewhere around here. Now, those of you who joining in late might be wondering what happened here. The elephant was killed in a battle with another elephant bull. Now, Monty, I'm not quite sure what you're asking. And so Monty says, when elephants get wounded, do they get a kind of distemper? Now, distemper is a runny stomach. This elephant did have a runny stomach, but that's because his stomach was punctured by the tusk of that big musk bull. So, no, not distemper as a disease, but yes, he would have had a very runny stomach, and there was a lot of blood and clotting in that stomach. But that was due to the fact that that elephant's tusk went up under his elbow here and right into his cavity. And that elephant has got very big tusks, so it probably did some damage to some other internal organs as well. But and as I said, it also looked like that the Ellie Bull came back for another round with him after we left him yesterday. So there was a few more sort of battle marks. Who knows, it could have even been a different elephant, but unlikely. It was probably that same must bull. Now what's been quite amazing is that we've had these young elephant bulls around the carcass, and a big breeding herd with little babies and whatnot passed within 50 meters of the carcass, and I'm sure they could smell the carcass, but they didn't come here. They just kept moving through. But I can only see one, and you see the other one as he marched off. He's moved off, so there's only one of the little boys left here now. It is also an amazing time of the evening. You can hear all the sounds very clearly. It's very still at this time of the day. Now, I don't think in any way is this elephant guarding the carcass. As I said, it's more of a curiosity to him, and I think he'll probably move off sometime in the next little while. Now, it's going to be very interesting over this carcass over the next few days. Are the Avoca males going to come back down from the north? Are the Birminghams going to come back from the south? The Birminghams were already in central Andaluzia around the Sand River by this morning, so they covered incredible distance last night. So it is the problem about having such a large territory with those lions, that they have to sort of dash around trying to keep other males out. And one has to wonder if they've maybe got too much territory now. Well, Taylor is coming from Chitwa, which is over there across the hill. So she's trying to see if there are any predators on their way to where we are sitting. Okay, so our first scavenger has arrived, and that young Ellie Bull has spotted him, and it looked like he was going to try chase him. Here he comes. He's just behind this tree. There we go. I think he's going to make a run at the hyena. I've lost sight of the hyena. No, it's still there. And there we go. So I knew it was a matter of time before the first of the scavengers arrived. Now, with the scavengers arriving, this might just mean this Ellie's going to move off. As I said, I don't think he's guarding the carcass. And they just don't like predators in general, elephants, whether it be lion, elephant, or wild dog. And the hyena are incredibly patient. So I think that hyena, I was hoping that elephant might give the hyena a bit more of a chase, a little bit of a trumpet and a charge, but unfortunately not. But I didn't even see the hyena, so it's dark, and I said we're in infrared, it's quite dark. But what I did is I just saw that elephant's body language change, and I knew there was something close by. Just getting my spotlight out so I can have a quick scan around. See if there's anything else sneaking up. There isn't, just that single hyena. It's probably going to take the long way around to get to that elephant carcass now. Here we go. What are you? Throwing sticks around, trying to intimidate the hyenas, but it's not going to work, I'm afraid. Kathy, at the elephant carcass, I just saw movement behind it. Just have a look. I just can't see. I just saw something. Was it a drongo flying past? I just saw a little bit of movement. Almost looked like a tail swish or something. But that elephant skin is incredibly thick. Kathy's asking how hard is it for the predators to open it up. Lions and hyenas will manage. I mean, it is tough, especially as the skin gets older. But, I'm sorry, it'll get easier as the skin gets older and rotting starts to take place. But yes, they will be able to open it up without too much difficulty. Where are you gone, hyena? Didn't take long after the sun set for the first, there we go, hyena to show up. Is that a hyena?
Just through the back there.
There it is, yeah. There's the hyena there. So it didn't take long for the first hyena to show itself after dark. But a single hyena like this approaching a carcass like this is always very cautious. Not only is the elephant there, but the fact is there could be lions, there could be lots of other things here. Let's have a quick look if there are any more around. So it's being very cautious. It's just hanging around in its little bush there, trying to make sure there's nothing more dangerous before it starts feeding on the carcass. So lions, leopards, hyenas are all known to scavenge quite frequently. And Pisces is wondering, will wild dogs appear on this carcass and scavenge? Wild dogs very seldom scavenge on a carcass. I've only seen it once in my life, so probably not. They probably won't scavenge. There we go, there, just behind the tree there. Getting closer and closer, now about 4 or 5 meters from the carcass. Now I don't want to move any closer. This hyena's quite nervous, and that Ellie is moving off. So there we go, going immediately towards the soft areas that the vultures managed to open up. And there you can see how truly big, even though he wasn't the biggest elephant. I mean, look at the size difference to that hyena. This elephant carcass is going to provide us with some incredible sightings over the next little while. We're going to go and do a quick little short for a few seconds. And hiding from there we go. The hyena has come back around, and we do apologize about disappearing there. It's come back around to where that opening was made by the other elephant with his tusk. So there is the hyena starting to feed, and I'm sure it won't be too long before there are more hyenas here. And by tomorrow morning we could easily expect 20 or 30 hyenas around, possibly some lions. Okay, we're going to do a quick little Facebook Live, so I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds. Welcome back to the Sabi Sands in South Africa. We're still sitting next to the dead elephant for those who were with us earlier. And now, as the sun has set, a hyena has arrived. My name is Brent Smith. I have my good friend Dave on camera. And we've been here for about 4 hours now. And we've seen elephants come in. And now, as it's got dark, the first of the predators and the scavengers has arrived. And it is busy feeding from exactly where the elephant that killed this elephant's tusk went into its body. So there's a nice easy opening for the hyena, making it a little bit easier for it to open up this carcass. As I said, I don't think it'll be too long before there are more hyenas here, but we will definitely be back early tomorrow morning to see what has transgressed overnight. You can see how tough that elephant's skin is. The hyena is very nervous because it's by itself, and it is possible that lions might pop up at any second. And the hyena is aware of our presence, Godwin. It knows we are here, but we're in our safari vehicle, so we don't pose a threat. Denise, you are 100% correct. Nothing goes to waste out in the African bushveld. And my prediction is in 5 days, there will just be some bones. And even those bones, and, well, there we go, Kyle. Answered your question for you there. About 5 or 6 days, my estimate is. And my estimate, not estimate, terrible English, estimate is. And it will be just a few bones, and even those bones, after there's no meat left on them, will provide calcium to rodents and even to animals like giraffe will sometimes also pick up bones and chew them when they feel like they need calcium. There we go. So I said by tomorrow morning there probably could easily be 20, 30 hyenas here, and maybe some lions if we're lucky. Now, this carcass is very fresh, but as it gets older, the smell will start to permeate through the air. And Tam Tam's asking, how far will it travel? A good couple of kilometers, Tam Tam. But also, the predators will spot the vultures as they drop down into the trees around the carcass, and lions and hyenas will actually follow vultures to see if there's anything. Oh, he just popped the stomach. He just popped the stomach. There we go. Oh, so this is not for sensitive viewers. Beware, be warned. This hyena has just popped open the elephant's stomach that's been filling with gas throughout the day. So now the smell is well and truly out. And it's going to be very interesting to see what's here in the morning. Now, hyenas will often actually take pieces of meat away from a carcass like this and hide it in a puddle of water so the other hyenas can't smell it and find it. They are very ingenious creatures. Oh, disappeared behind the Ellie now. Now, as you can see, the tusks are still on the carcass. They will be collected by the park officials. And Jenny's asking, will they chew on the tusks? They won't. There's no food benefit. It's enamel-like teeth, so there's no nutritional benefit to the hyenas or to to anything really. So no, they will not chew on the tusks. Where'd you go, hyena? Now, if you want to see what's happening with this elephant tomorrow, remember you can join us on YouTube by just typing in Safari Live. We are 100% live, so not only can you catch us on Facebook for these short little snippets and tidbits into the wonderful African world, but we do run 6 hours a day on YouTube. Just type Safari Live. I will be back here early tomorrow morning to see what has happened overnight. So from all of us out here in the African bush and the hyena who's back, getting one last snack, we'll see you bright and early tomorrow. Well, look at that. Patience is always the most important when you're sitting out in the African bush, whether you're with sleeping cats or waiting next to a dead elephant. If you put in the time, you will see incredible things such as we have this evening with the elephants and now the hyena. And of course, Tristan had that incredible Shadulu sighting and catching a button quail. Isn't that amazing? I've never heard of a leopard catching a button quail. And of course, Taylor with the old man of the Northern Sabi Sands, Tingana. So get ready to join us for an action-filled morning sunrise safari from beautiful South Africa. So from all of us at Safari Live, good night.